When it comes to Korea, what are the first things that come to your mind?
속에서 그 아픔 속에서 보던 그 너니 내게 남겨져 있어. In this destiny, so watch me bring the fire, set the night light. Hey baby, I think I wanna marry you.
Are there some iconic romantic scenes in the drama, world-famous K-pop groups like BTS and Blackpink, or those delicious foods like kimchi or tteokbokki? Well, let's not talk about them now. Today we are going to show you another perspective of Korea, not that glorious and dynamic, of a large number of women who engage in transnational marriages with Korean men. Few minutes browsing the web and you would find ample information on these marriages, mostly of Vietnamese women. They say that people in rural areas get married overseas and send huge amounts of money back home, which helps their families build big houses and luxurious furniture. Thus, Korea is like a dream place for many people who want to change their life. However, the consequences are scary. Hundreds of articles and videos present another reality where the brides are harassed, even killed by their husbands, their life faced with enormous difficulties.
Qua trang Korea Times đưa tin, cảnh sát Jeon Nam ở tỉnh Nam Jeolla, Hàn Quốc đã bắt giữ nghi phạm 36 tuổi trong đoạn video đánh đập vợ người Việt khiến cô này bị gãy xương sườn, phải nhập viện điều trị, đang gây phẫn nộ trên mạng xã hội. Vụ việc một lần nữa giống lên hồi chuông cảnh báo về vấn nạn bạo hành gia đình ở nước này.
Trước đó, một đoạn video dài 2 phút 33 giây xuất hiện và lan truyền trên mạng xã hội, ghi lại hình ảnh người đàn ông vừa chửi thề, vừa đấm và đá vào người vợ 30 tuổi. Người này thậm chí còn dùng vỏ chai rượu soju để đánh vợ.
In 2 months, April and May 2021, our team conducted a case study on women of Thuy Nguyên district who migrated to Korea through transnational marriage. Using the qualitative method of in-depth interviews, we collected data from 12 of these women who are aged between 23 and 40 years old and have been in Korea for 3 to 10 years. By contacting the interview participants via social media such as Facebook Messenger, these interviews took place from 30 minutes to 1.5 hours. As listed in Vietnam Migration Profile 2016 by IOM, Hải Phòng ranked second in the number of Vietnamese marrying Koreans, 2,098 women from 2011 to 2016. Moreover, Thuy Nguyên, Hải Phòng is a developing area in Vietnam, with people usually come from low-income and middle-class families. Many of them had made a huge rise in their family economy due to working abroad after getting married, which made us have even more curiosity to draw a specific picture here as a case study research.
Before deciding to marry Korean men, these women had always known about this phenomenon as a popular chain in Thuy Nguyên district. They were told a lot about its benefits as a way to improve their family's economy. After being selected, these women will take an elementary Korean course to gain a certificate and be helped with visa and marriage procedure by the matchmaking centers. All these processes are paid services. Fees are decided on a case-by-case basis, usually from 15 to 30 million Vietnam dong, and based on the economic situation of the bride's family and also the quality of the groom's family background. For example, if the groom is in the city and he has well-paid job, then it will be a factor to raise the matchmaking fee higher. Many cases whose families have low income are even willing to loan money to pay for the fee.
From the interviews, we sorted high-form women into two groups, whose motivation for international marriages and the overwhelming influences are determined by their family's financial background. Overall, they all see these marriages as a way to improve their life in many aspects.
The first group are those who come from low-income families and are more affected by socio-economic factors. In this group, most families have low income usually earned from growing crops, retailing, or manual labor. To be sufficient for the family, they all have to work hard to earn money. Most women in this group complete either secondary or high school. Lacking a degree, they could only find jobs such as working in factories, which does not afford them a satisfactory life.
Không có việc làm thì không, chán là làm hình như thế, đi xin việc làm cứ đòi bằng cấp 3. Bây giờ học hết cấp 2 đòi bằng cấp 3 đâu ra thôi.
They see international marriages as an escape from their lives' impasse, which was caused by unstable yet hard-earned income. The primary motivation is to earn money to afford themselves and their parents. They are encouraged by many that went to Korea before them and sent a good amount of money back home. The benefits are tangible. The villages where marrying Korean men is a trend witness a complete change in its appearance. Many households could build luxurious houses after sending their daughters overseas.
Kiểu như là đi theo phong trào vậy đó. Thì thấy người ta đi sang đây, ai cũng lo cho bố mẹ này kia, rồi cái tiền gửi về thấy ham vậy. Thế là đi thôi. Cũng chả biết sang đây sướng hay khổ hay là như nào. Sang rồi thì mới biết.
Theo mẹ chị đi buôn bán cho nên là chị thấy là mẹ mình vất vả quá, đi kiếm một đồng tiền thật, một đổ mồ hôi xương máu thật, phải nói cái từ đấy thật. Đi bán mà gánh một gánh hàng ít mấy chục cân vậy, 50 cân 60 cân trên vai vậy, một ngày quần quật. Đi bán hàng rong thì mấy em biết thôi, cho nên là cứ gánh hàng vậy mà đi bán hàng giống như mở kẻ đấy, là leo trên những cái dốc thì khổ lắm. Một ngày cứ đi bộ bao nhiêu từ sáng đến chiều vậy, nên là chị đi theo và chị thấy mẹ mình cực khổ đi kiếm đồng tiền, vậy cho nên là chị mới có suy nghĩ vậy thôi chứ.
Ngày đấy chị cũng chỉ nghĩ là trong đầu nghĩ đơn giản là mình đi đến một cái nơi là ngay biết mình rồi mình có thể mình đi sang đấy, kiểu như kinh tế người ta khá giả, mình có thể phụ giúp được bố mẹ ở quê nhà. Mình chỉ nghĩ là mình muốn trả hiếu cho bố mẹ vậy, trong đầu chỉ vậy, còn đâu mà không nghĩ là sang đây mình sẽ phải khổ như thế nào, không nghĩ đến.
The lack of offering job opportunities for the people. Women in Thủy Nguyên often work in factories that function on cheap labor and exploitation. Some interviewees reported that they usually increased working hours while paying minimum wages and creating a competitive working environment. Filial piety. In such a Confucian country like Vietnam, paying back to one's family is one of the most important values for a person. For many, the ability to afford for family members' lives is the best way to show their love and care towards them. And finally, the sense of stability from having a family. Social expectations for women's marriage and the notion that building a home is an important goal, after the fulfillment of which one can finally settle down. When asked about the main factor leading to her marriage, one woman said, "My main weakness is not being able to find a husband. I don't know why no one would approach me, and it makes me self-conscious and lose confidence."
We'll continue with the middle-income families. Regarding the background, as occupations, usually the families often own a company or self-run businesses, such as an eatery or companies. In terms of education, most women were able to complete their higher education, or at least graduated from high school, and after graduation started working at companies, but often found these occupations to be lacking in pay. In terms of motivation, as they come from middle-income families with occupations that prove sufficient in funding for their lifestyle and education, when met with the decision to marry Korean men, financial aid becomes less a priority compared to other cultural factors. Most are worried by the burning pressure of finding a husband to establish a family before a specific age, a common perception shared by the rural community that they live in.
Quê em 23, 24 tuổi học xong rồi đi làm rồi mà không lấy chồng là nó là cả một gánh nặng đè lên đầu đấy, kiểu cái thời ngày xưa ở quê mày.
Others perceive Korea as a country which can provide a more stable life compared to the one they currently have in Vietnam, accessible through their marriage with a Korean man. This stability includes better living conditions, higher average income, and the advantageous policies and
Chỉ
services.
ngồi tư vấn điện thoại thôi. Cái lương của nó thì cũng không có cao, nhưng mà lương mà cao mà kiểu như là cuộc sống của mình nó ổn định ấy, thì chắc chắn là chị sẽ không sang đây. Mình không có quá dư dả để lo cho bố cho mẹ. Là sang đây một phần cũng vì gia đình ấy, ý là như vậy. Là sang đây thì cái đồng tiền ở bên này thì đổi ra tiền Việt Nam thì nó cao gấp 20 lần, thì ít nhiều mình không hỗ trợ được nhiều thì anh em bố mẹ thì mình cũng hỗ trợ được một phần nào đấy. Đấy.
Since there's less economic pressure, the women from this group often had the pleasure of choosing their groom to their own liking after meeting. Most had the choice to reject a man they didn't like and had the time to go on dates and get to know each other at their own leisure, placing them in a more active role compared to women in a lower income background. In some cases, these women were able to make the decision to marry based on their attractiveness to the man and the trust that they were able to build through months of talking and acquaintances, instead of putting too much weight on the social economic benefits that come with it. In terms of social factors, first of which are the social expectations for women in terms of marriage. Meaning the age that is widely considered as appropriate for marriage is often a burden usually encouraged by family members or thought of by themselves when observing the cultural norms of the rural area in which they live. This may be a result from the Confucian values, where marriage is considered as a significant milestone in each woman's life, honoring the woman's transition into the role of a wife and mother. Thirdly are the preset perceptions of Korea. Most women have heard tales from friends and relatives about the work opportunities and qualitative social services available in Korea, initially setting up a good impression of the country for these women when considering their transnational engagements. Through media and television, from the influence of Korean dramas and movies, the way Korea is portrayed in media as a haven for a pink and romantic life, most women of this group confessed to having believed this perception and was curious to see how it was like in reality, aiding them in making the decision to go.
Although the two groups show differences in their motivations and the major leading factors, as Vietnamese women coming from the same area, they have a set of similar reasons for choosing transnational marriages, including finding a stable job, earning well-paid salary, and finding a husband. The only difference lies in their priorities in accordance with their personal situations. While doing this research, we could see that life in Korea for Vietnamese women is indeed very difficult, but the extreme media portrayal is not necessarily the norm. The perception that marrying foreign men leads to disastrous consequences was formed by repetition of a small number of special cases. For most women, their difficulties lie in communication through a second language, maintaining harmony with the husbands and their mothers-in-law. However, though influenced by social roles of a woman to be a good mother and wife, they still show their powerful and independent aspects in their will to improve themselves by learning Korean language and culture to gain Korean nationality, going to university, or becoming financially independent. Therefore, one meaningful takeaway that we have after studying this phenomenon is that women marrying Korean men, like any other women, always want to take control of their own lives and thus deserve to be presented in a better light.